Say hi, Derek. He's not going to watch my videos. Are you, Derek? It's recording. All right. So the law of sines, it's used to solve oblique triangles. You know what oblique triangles mean? Oblique.
Yeah,
Very good.
non-obtuse.
No, not obtuse. It means non-right.
Yeah.
Non-right triangles. So you know how to solve triangles, and it's pretty easy. I kind of was, and law of sines specifically is used when you have angle side, or angle side angle. Given you know an angle, then an angle, then a side, or angle side angle, and we'll do an example of each one of those, or even SSA, which remember in geometry. You learned that SSA was not a way to show that triangles are congruent. But yeah, it is. We're recording now. Because it spells backwards, but also because it leads to two different triangle possibilities. But this is called the ambiguous case, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. Okay? And ambiguous case. And so we'll talk about this tomorrow. So today we're just going to talk about these two cases, angle, side, side. Then you use cosines. Side, angle, side, use a lot of cosines. So given two angles and a side, which is what we're going to talk about today, we can use a lot of sines. And a lot of sines comes out of, let's see if my tools work now. I'm supposed to draw a triangle. Does it work? Oh, look at that. It worked. So if I call this triangle A, B, C, and I drop down a height of this triangle. So here's a height from here to here, and height means it's perpendicular to this side. I just want to show you don't have to know this. It's kind of nice to know where it comes out of. Okay. The side opposite big C is little c, the side opposite big A is little a, and the side opposite big B is little b. Right? And you can, using these right triangles right here, you can write that the sine of A, what would the sine of A be equal to? What over what?
H over C.
Very good. Sine of A is equal to H over C. And I also could get that the sine of C is equal to what over what? H over A. Thank you. H over A. And solving these two things for H, I get C sine A equals H, but also A sine C equals H. If I multiply this, cross multiply through by A here, that's what I get. So since these two things are both equal to H, I can set these two things equal to each other. A sine C is equal to C sine A. And then what I could do is divide both sides by both A and C. A and C, A and C. And in this case, that makes the A's go away. And in this case, that makes the C's go away. And what I'm left with is 2/3 of the law of sines. That the sine of C over C is equal to the sine of A over A, which if I flip this triangle around, I could also show that that's equal to the sine of B over B. So that's the law of sines. The sine of an angle over its opposite side is equal to the sine of another angle over its opposite side, which is equal to the sine of this angle over its opposite side. Yes? Follow that? And that's the law of sines. You know this all already, Ben? You're just watching? Okay. So the other thing is you could flip these upside down, so you could say C over sine of C, A over sine of A, B over sine of B equals B. Doesn't matter, because it would be the same. So how do you use that? So example of a, so this is an example of an angle, side angle, or a yeah, of an angle side. Angle side. So say you have a triangle that looks kind of like this. Here's a triangle. It's gonna make a triangle. Come on. Ooh, that thing's cool. All right, and say I tell you that this angle here is 102.3, and this angle here is 28.7. 28.7, and this side here is 27.4. And let's give these some names. Let's call this C, because it doesn't matter which order you name it. So if this is A, then this would be little a. This would be little c. And this over here would be little b. And then they say solve the triangle. Solve the triangle. And solving the triangle means finding all the angles and all the sides that are there. All right. So to do that, you have to find this angle right here, right? Which would be easy to do. That's what I would do first, because that doesn't involve much math. How would I find that angle right there? Yeah, those have to add up to 180. So angle A is going to equal 180 minus 102.3 plus 28.7, right? And this comes out to be a nice even, is it 49 degrees? I think so. 49 degrees. So the first thing you should probably do is find the angles that are missing. If you're missing one angle, it's pretty easy to do by just subtracting those two from 180. Right? Questions about that? Now we're going to find another side. And so let's find, which side do you want to find? A, B, C? Let's find side A. Okay, so you would just write that the sine of 49 over A is equal to the sine of 28.7, sine of 28.7 over B, which is 27.4. And then you have to solve that. Now, what you could do is...
Will we get calculators for this?
Yes, you definitely need a calculator. So what you could do is split both of those and make your life a little bit easier. So let's just do that. You don't have to, but you get A over sine of 49 equals 27.4 over sine of 28.7. And then to solve that, I just need to multiply. What I would do is get A by itself. Don't go through and multiply by this, and then multiply by it. I would do it all in one chunk. I would solve for A. And so A is going to be equal to sine of 49. Sine of 49 degrees times 27.4 divided by sine of 28.7. And then all you have to do is plug that whole chunk into your calculator, and then you don't have to worry about, rounding errors and stuff like that, Anyone questions on how I got to here from here? I just multiply both sides by sine of 49.
27.4 over sine of 28.7 b by itself.
No, you're just I multiply both sides by sine of 49. What do you mean?
So it would be by itself. It would be like sine of 49 times 27.4 sine of 28.7.
Doesn't matter.
You would get the same thing from that.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Because multiplying and dividing doesn't matter what order you do it in. So I'm going to grab my calculator just to show you how you do this. And so second, quit, mode, quit. What's this that I got up here? An integral. Where are we going? Second, quit. And the first thing for these problems, you don't want to be in radian mode. You want to be in degree mode. So first of all, set your calculator to degrees. Okay? And then just make sure you're doing things in the right order. Sine. So sine of 49. Close those parentheses, otherwise it's going to multiply. You're going to take the sine of 49 times 27.4, which you don't want to do. Okay? Times 27.4. And you don't even have to use another set of parentheses. Divided by sine of 28.7. Sine of 28.7. Right? And then you just hit boom, and you're done. So what that tells you is that, what was that? That's A. So this side over here, and usually they say round off to the nearest 1043.06. And if that's in feet, then this should be in feet as well. Okay? Questions about that? Is that hard?
No.
Okay, pretty simple. Okay, to find, so we're not quite done yet. We still have to find C. So let's say that C. Let's set it up with the side on the top, so I don't have it on the bottom. So C over sine of 102.3 equals. What I would do, here's a little tip. Instead of using this and this, which you could use, I'm going to use this and this, because these are the values that they give you, so there's no rounding involved here. This has been rounded off a little bit, so I would use this side, this angle, and this side, because those are the ones that are given, so you won't have any additional error by using this rounded off answer. And so then I have is equal to 27.4 over sine of 28.7. Sine of 28.7, and then you do that, and you would get that C is about equal to, whoops, C is about equal to 55.75. 55.75 feet. And the other thing, Savannah, how about this too? If I see you playing on your cell phone, there will be no retest. Okay? Because you're wasting my time, so why should you're wasting my time in class, so why should I waste my time grading a retest if you're not doing anything in class? Okay? I don't see too many notes there. All right. So anyway, so that would be the answer. The other thing is the biggest side should be opposite the biggest angle, and the smallest side should be opposite the smallest angle, and the medium side should be the middle side should be opposite the middle. Okay, which you learned it. Okay, so let's do one where you have an angle, side angle, okay, which is another case for the law of sines. And so this one is kind of a word problem, and I'm going to write it for you up here. So let me see if I can get my typewriter to work. Is that the typewriter? There. Okay, a pole. This is just a problem on the book. A pole tilts toward the sun at an 8-degree. Sue. I'll fix it in a minute. Angle, and that's not very good typing, is it? I'll fix things. And casts a 22-foot, foot shadow. The angle of elevation from tip of the shadow to the top of the pole is 43, I'm not sure how to put it, degrees. How tall is the pole? Let me fix my typos. Where do I have a typo? Angle. A pole tilt towards the sun at an angle of 8 degree at an 8-degree angle. And cast at 20, the angle of elevation from tip of the shadow to top of the pole is 40 degrees. How tall is the pole? Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is probably draw a picture of this situation, right? And so, so here's the sun over here. That's the sun. It's smiling down upon us. That's a bad sun. Okay. Anyway, okay. So the sun is sitting over here. There's a pole that's tilting up at, if this is vertical, so this is 8-degree angle. Okay? And the sun is up here somewhere. Okay? And the sun is shining down. And henceforth, the shadow, even though it seems kind of weird, is appearing over, the shadow is over here somewhere. So here's the shadow, and here's the triangle that we're talking about right here. And the angle of elevation, so here's the pole right here. And they tell you that to cast a shadow 22 feet long. And the angle of elevation from tip of the shadow to the top of the pole is 43 degrees. All right?
Wait, is that 80 or 8 degrees?
8 degrees. So this angle, little angle right here, you made me mess up, is 8 degrees. This angle in between. That's towards the sun, so here's the sun, an 8-degree angle, cast a 22-foot shadow. The angle of elevation from the tip of the shadow to top of the pole is 40. How tall is the pole? Okay? So,
why would you draw it like that?
because that's,
Why would you draw the 8 degrees on the other side of the vertical line?
because then it wouldn't be tilting towards the sun. Right? It says towards the sun at an 8-degree angle. Okay? So,
Well, then that doesn't make sense. The shadow should be backwards.
no, if the sun's up here, the shadow's still going to be kind of shining. Yes, sir. Yeah. If the sun were here, the shadow would be. The shadow comes from the sun, which is up here, right? Shadow, yeah, it says
Sun should be forward.
it works.
Why is the pole tilting?
What? Okay, let's just do the problem.
So would the angle be like 98 degrees then?
What?
Plus 90?
Yes.
Why is the pole tilting?
I got struck by lightning. Maybe.
Straight down from where the sun is shining.
Why is the pole tilting?
The sun's shining towards me, my shadow.
Maybe there are two shadows. It's talking about that.
There
shadow.
couldn't be two
There
shadows.
would be two shadows.
Or sometimes it is if the sun's like right above it,
Yeah.
sometimes there's like 4 shadows.
Isn't that in a novel? You have 4 shadows?
No.
Oh.
Foreshadowing. Okay, let's get serious here. Okay, so some of you already figured out, like Tracy, that this angle has to be 98 degrees, right? Tracy? Okay, so because this is straight up and down, so it's making an 8-degree angle, just deal with it. Okay, this is what the picture looks like. Sine of this is to this. You still can't do it yet because you do have an angle, side angle, but you can't do it yet because, look, if you said sine of 43 is to x as something, you could say a sine of 98 is to something else, but you can't have 2 variables. So what do I need to do?
Find out the other side.
Good. You need to find this angle up here first, right? Which is pretty easy to do because you would go 180 minus 43 plus, or minus again, 43 plus 98, right? I'm going to subtract 43 and 98 from 180, in which case I get that angle at the top is 39 degrees up here, okay? So now I can use the law of sines. I'm going to use it upside down because it's easier. 22 is to sine of 39. as what is to what?
Sine of 30.
As x is to what? Sine of 43. And then I'm going to solve that for x. So I'm going to get x equals sine 43 times 22
Put it 22 sine.
divided by sine of 39. Okay? And then you just get, and then you plug that in your calculator. You want me to do that? Okay? Anyway, if you did plug that in your calculator, you get x is about equal to, x is about equal to 23.84 feet. 23.84 feet. And then you're done. Okay, because this is only asking you to solve, not solve the entire triangle. You didn't have to find this side over here. You just had to find x over this. And then you're done. Okay? So, you ready to know what your homework is? That's it. Okay? So your homework is page 410. 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 10, 12, whoops, 13, 16, 19, 22, and 42. Okay? So, nothing really tricky on there. The last one is the word problem, and that's it. Alright? And remember, you heard it here, Mr.